The next gentleman coming up is, I didn't know him until the last time we had a rally. He came up and volunteered to speak and did such an amazing job. He is a progressive activist. He's, I think, lives up around Birmingham, but he's heavily involved in a lot of the things that we support. And his name is Mr. Mike Carpick. Mike, wherever you are, there he is. Give him a big hand.
This wasn't supposed to happen now. I was supposed to be last. Excuse me. I am Mike Carpick. I am talking about as loud as I can. I have some voice problems. I apologize for that. We have, as has been noted many times, many speakers down here much more qualified to talk about the specifics of the insanity going on in there than I am. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what Mr. Countryman said. I'm going to tell a little bit of my story. As you can probably tell by my accent, what remains of it, and my speech patterns, I'm not originally from around these parts. I started out in Nebraska, Omaha, at the end of World War II. I grew up relatively normally, with a couple of minor exceptions. Paid about as much attention to things like politics as a normal kid and teenager do, which means not much. My family was one of the first families on our block to get a television set. And unfortunately, in part due to that, I became aware of Alabama in a very negative way. The first thing I saw on Alabama was Bull Connor's dogs. The second thing I saw was the church bombing in Birmingham. And even as lackadaisical as I was at the time, I was pretty sure Alabama would not be in my future. Whoever controls the cosmos likes little jokes, and about 22 years later, he had a big surprise for me. Or excuse me, 22 years ago, he had a pretty big surprise for me. We had a daughter attending school at UAB, and she gave birth to her second born. My wife, my Beverly, came up here to be with her for that process. And I learned then something nobody would ever could have been able to tell me before. Somebody had put a world premier class medical community together in Birmingham. Because if Anissa had been born anywhere else on the planet, she would have been dead within 30 minutes. They had her out of Brookwood, down to UAB, and on an operating table in less than an hour, and they rebuilt her heart. A couple of weeks was kind of touch and go, but then it became fairly clear she was going to survive and do okay. And I'm shaking like a leaf, I apologize. And I called Beverly and asked her when she was coming back to Florida, where we were living at the time, and she asked me when I'd lost my mind. She was not about to be 10 minutes away from that grandchild ever again. So, surprise, surprise, I moved to Birmingham, Hoover more specifically. She and I both got fairly good jobs at very good companies. We lived our lives. We voted every election, but as far as politics as such, we really didn't pay that much attention. I think that probably applies to a few others here. And then 2007 happened. And a guy named Barack Hussein Obama decided to run for president. And the civility I thought Alabama had acquired was ripped away. And I became very interested in politics, and have been to this day. Our lives do in fact depend on what happens in this building. I'm going to brace my elbows here. I'm shaking like whatever Earl said. Excuse me. About 5 years ago, and it had been going on for a few years before that, I didn't know that until about 5 years ago, I learned something else about democracy. A democracy requires a minimum of 2 functional political parties to work. I didn't say only 2, I said a minimum of 2, and I want to stress the functional part. And here's where I get in trouble. Under the ownership of Joe Reed and Nancy Worley, the Alabama Democratic Party has turned into a non-entity with complete and total impotence. Who do we have to carry our message? Who is speaking for the other half or more? I think there's more of this. To those people in there. It's not the Alabama Democratic Party.
It's a brain drain.
I don't want to interrupt the speech, ma'am, but the last time I went to vote, half of the elections were unopposed.
Correct.
That's basically all you need to say about the Alabama Democratic Party.
And this is the
Unopposed.
okay. This is the main reason I'm here today. I want to briefly introduce you to 2 organizations that you might consider getting involved with to try to rectify and to rebuild the Alabama Democratic Party. Actually, there's 3, but that 3 turns out to be in 67. Most of the county parties are trying to do their job as best they can under the handicaps they have. If you are not involved with your county party and you're a Democrat or want to be, or if you support progressive causes, and if you support giving this government back to the people it is supposed to serve, consider trying to work with your local county party. The large cities also have city parties, as we do in Birmingham. Actually, we've got 2, 3 if you count Jefferson County. And then there are a couple of side organizations. But what I want to call to your attention now, the main reason I came down here today, is to introduce you to an organization called Forward Alabama. I've got these scattered around in several places. You can pick them up, or you can just Facebook Forward Alabama and you'll find us. We're there. What Forward Alabama is trying to do is trying to fill in for the things that Joe Reed's and Nancy Worley's party are not doing. We are trying to promote issues. We are trying to find and support for the people. We are trying to keep issues abreast in that building to what extent it's possible. But it's kind of about the only thing outside of the Alabama Democratic Party we've got going for us statewide right now. So I ask you please to consider finding out about it and maybe consider joining us. The other thing, now something I need to say, Forward Alabama is not a different party. It's not a distinct party. Most of us are Democrats who got tired of waiting for Joe Reed to get off his ass.
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah!
But it's not in any way competing with the ADC. It's a separate organization, although we do support Democrats. We try to find Democrats. We try to push Democrats. The second organization I would like to bring to your attention briefly, and this is for those of you who are Democrats, is the Alabama Democratic Reform Caucus. This is a group working within the party to try to recover it, to try to bring it back to what it once was, to try to give us an active voice in that building. And before I drop this microphone, thank you very much for listening, and I hope you're all back here the next opening day of the next session.
All right, y'all, that was very good information there. I definitely hope that